All right, and we are live, I think. I'll just wait a couple of minutes here for, well, anyone to show up while I read. So somebody suggested that I do the stream starting off with a word from my English Oxford Dictionary. And I said, well, any word in particular? And while I was thinking about it, I thought, I'm going to pick a word. And the word that I picked was wife. Just because my wife's actually with one of the kids, teaching her how to read and stuff. And then I looked at this entry, and wife covers pretty much 3 columns of one of these pages, and they're pretty big. I don't know if I can. There you go. That's wife. It's pretty much almost on an entire page. Oh, good. It's 10 people. So just quick recap. Just letting you know that there was a suggestion to start off with a word from my 13-volume set of the Oxford English Dictionary. And I picked wife, but there's going to be a much better word in a minute. Firmament, suggested by Cactus Eater Bear. There you are. Good word, good suggestion. Not controversial at all. I'm sure it won't cause any kind of a stir among the bears and whoever. Right, wife, like I said, it goes on for a long while, so let me just start off. One, I'm skipping all the various pronunciations of it because there's about 30 different ways to say it, apparently. But here we go. One, a woman. There you go. You're all just wives. Whoever we name, a woman. Formerly, in general sense, in later use, restricted to a woman of humble rank or of low employment. Sad. Especially one engaged in the sale of some commodity. One wonders what commodity that might be. Now dialectical X, which I think means executed with prefix descriptive word, especially in compounds such as alewife, applewife, fishwife, old wife, and so on. So you can see where that comes from. Then it goes on to give you all examples of where it was first used, because that's what the freaks who created this dictionary did. They told you where each one of these words appeared first. 2. A woman joined to a man by marriage, the more common usage. A married woman, correlative of husband. And then it gives you a whole bunch of places, phrases that it was used, and so on and on and on. 3. The mistress of a household, the hostess or landlady of an inn. In quotation from 1430, housewife, economist. Obsolete as surviving in good wife, housewife. So, housewife, unbeknownst to me until now, meant not just a woman that looks after the kids, but actually a landlady. 4. Collector's name for a moth. And it gives even the name of the moth. Catocala nupta, also called willow red underwing. So you are moths, kind of like night butterflies, just women, landladies. It's really interesting. 5. Attributive and combined, attributed or a of or pertaining to a wife or wives as wifekin. Wife thing. Wife thing. That's a beautiful one. I think I'm going to call my wife thing soon. Okay, then it goes on to give you examples of when it was used. Wife, obsolete and rare. This is a different version of the word wife. To take a wife, to marry. Oh, okay, as in you wife someone, you make them your wife. Okay. And then there's a really interesting one, which is right at the bottom of the page, but I gotta read it. Wifedom. 1. The position or condition of a wife. Married state of a woman, the character or qualities of a wife, wifehood. That's just awesome. Yeah. But now on to the word firmament. Now, you guys have to understand that I have not looked this word up in this book yet or before. So you'll be getting my reaction of this live as well. Let me just make some space. Now, the interesting thing is that I do know what firmament means, and it means basically it means the sky. So it's not what a bunch of people that believe in the flat earth and probably unicorns think it means. But let's find it and see if that is indeed the case. So, have I not read this before? I don't know. I'm losing my mind as I get older, so who knows. Firm. No, but I don't believe I have. Firm. Okay, we've got firm. We know what that means. It's how I deal with gammas. Firmly. Firmament. Here we go. Firmament. Okay, pronunciation. To strengthen. Firm. Okay, one. The arch or vault of heaven overhead in which the clouds and stars appear, the sky or heavens. In modern use only, poetic or rhetorical. In other words, it is the sky, as I said, because that's all that the vault of heaven means. It means that which is above you. It's not the inside of a glass globe or a snow globe. Let's see, where's 2? There must be, oh, here we go, 2. In old astronomy, the sphere containing the fixed stars. Oh, well, there you go. I was wrong about that. They had that use, I suppose. The 8th heaven of the Ptolemaic system. In old astronomy, the sphere containing the fixed stars. Well, 3. In the literal etymological sense, anything which strengthens or supports a substratum. A firm support or foundation. However, having said that, for C quotation, okay, for it's used in a quotation by Evelyn Mund that says, tipped with diamond point and head by which the curls are fastened in radiant firmament set out. Oh, all right. So I guess, I don't know, the setting out of diamonds is a firmament as well. And 5, again, it's a quotation from a book, I suppose. Firmament propping foundation shall be adequated with the valley. However, I do know that etymologically firmament was a translation of a Hebrew word, the root of which means heaven or sky. Again, sky. So while over here, there is the use of the word firmament again in the 8th heaven of the Ptolemaic system, considered as a sphere containing the fixed stars. If you know about astronomy and the ancient Greeks, you will also know that they the Greeks had figured out the Earth was a sphere, and they also figured out that in terms of how it worked, whether they knew or not didn't really matter, because the stars in the sky, you can sort of predict where they're going to be as if it was a sphere. So there you go. Okay, let's read a few of the quick comments that you guys have made. Made it to the live stream. Made some space in the ark. Okay. Helpmate, helper. Now, funnily enough, wife didn't have that meaning of helpmate. Not that I could find anyway. Really enjoying your book on Mars. What are your thoughts on Genesis 6 and the hybrid children of fallen angels as modern aliens? I don't believe that the hybrids in Genesis 6, which are variously called the Nephilim, the Titans, I don't believe that they are aliens. I do believe that there is there's 2 possibilities. One is the actual mixing of humans with sort of pretty much demonic type beings, who created the heroes of old, such as Gilgamesh, Goliath, which was a giant, and these guys. They were literally also huge. There is another idea promoted generally by a guy called Zachariah Sitchin originally about the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, I thought, was a bunch of rubbish for a long time. However, they are talked about in Babylonian tablets. And the Anunnaki supposedly lived for thousands of years and used the humans as slaves to extract gold and various other minerals from the earth. I thought it sounded like fantastic bullshit. Until I came across this South African guy who has found these stone circles, I guess. And these stone circles have been found all over the world for hundreds of years. They're already talking about these things in the 1800s. And there's literally thousands of them all around the globe. To the point where when they found these things in South Africa, they sort of thought, oh, it's a kraal. A kraal is South African name for a basically a fencing situation to hold your cattle in. And the guy worked out how many people there were back, a few hundred years ago or whatever, and it made no sense because, you'll build a kraal to contain a few cows, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 cows, depending on how big your herd is. That's how big your kraal will be. And he was like, yeah, but there's like tens of thousands of these things all over Africa. We didn't even have like a few million people. It just doesn't make any sense. And then what he did is he took these tools to measure electromagnetic fields over these things. And there's a very famous one, I forget the name, in South Africa, where when you go over it, the electromagnetic fields are so twisted and so much stronger or weaker or whatever, you can't even get phone reception inside. It's literally like you walk in the circle and there's no phone reception. You walk out of it and you've got phone reception. It's really weird. And the weird and really interesting thing, which I only found out later, was that these Anunnaki so-called kings that lived for thousands of years are actually related to the king lists in Egypt. Now, the king lists in Egypt is a very interesting document because it's got these, they start out with like sort of gods, then they become demigods, then they become sort of divine humans. And Egyptologists basically say, oh, the king lists are, myths. From here on, from here, they were myths. And then from here, they're like historical documents. But it's the same document. There is no split in the actual king lists. So it's an arbitrary decision made by some Egyptologists, the same guys that told you that the Great Pyramid was built by 20,000 men or 100,000 men in 20 years, which is absolute fucking nonsense if you've got a calculator and you work it out, which I've done in the book. But yeah, so, I do think that there are two aspects to it. I think there is an aspect where there are possibly aliens that bred with humans, whether they were these Anunnaki, whether they were some other type of aliens. Yeah, I do think that is a possibility. But I also believe that there is the possibility of so-called fallen angels. And a really interesting part of that came from a friend. He's on Social Galactic, those of you that know him as Marku. And this guy, he's a Protestant, but he is a freak of knowing the Bible. He really knows the Bible really well. There is a reason in Catholic churches that like women wear a covering, a head covering, and it is from a passage in the Bible that basically says, I'm paraphrasing because I'm not good at remembering the exact quote or whatever, but it's something like, cover your hair so that angels don't see you as beautiful and basically want to bang you. So, which is kind of a bit weird, right, to have in the Bible. But the thing is, it stems from the idea that these spirit beings that were originally given the nations to rule can and do lust after pretty human women. I mean, why wouldn't they? And so literally the head covering is a form of modesty, not to excite these spiritual beings who apparently can also breed with you or something along those lines. That's my layman's sort of too long do not read type thing for all that. Definition of Corona, I believe it's some kind of Spanish beer. Hi all, hello Kurgan and all. Okay, just guys saying hi. Need to support our general, the Kurgan. Oh, you're most welcome. Anything in there about an 8-cow wife? I have no idea what that means. Saw it on Johnny Lingo. Again, no idea what that means. I recommend the word firm from the Dictionary of Word Origins. Shades of grey. Oh yes, I have taken the decision, also because on this camera, which is quicker for me to use, but it's it's just a desktop camera, so it's pretty crappy. As you know, I'm a little bit of an elitist and a retro type of guy, so I think I'm going to do the live streams in black and white. I don't know why, I just like the idea. Okay, what else? I would like to recommend the word intelligent. Okay, if we have a moment, I'll go and look it up. John Rampton, an atheist once told me firmament meant oceans in the sky. I have no idea where he got that. Probably made it up. I heard the arch and stopped listening. Yeah, that is nonsense. It's very interesting. Okay. Egyptologists equals BS job. Indeed. Egyptologists haven't got a fucking clue. And I actually read, I think there was a magazine. It was back when science magazines actually published some science. I think it's called KLM, if I remember right, which sounds like the airline, or MLK, I can't remember. But it's a publication of archaeology and Egyptology, and there was an article in there about Robert Schoch, the guy who, again, this is all in the Mars book. He basically, a guy called John Anthony West, which I met, had dinner with, very interesting guy, basically figured out that the Sphinx was much older than everything else and had been corroded by a lot of rainfall. And so he hired a proper geologist to figure out, well, what's the corrosion like, what's happened here? And the guy figured out that the Sphinx would have been built about 10,000 BC. Now, the interesting thing is, if you go about 10,000 BC, the Sahara Desert, where these things are now sitting, was actually a tropical rainforest back then. And another very interesting thing is, 10,000 BC, the Great Pyramid lined up perfectly with certain constellations that I think might have been the True North, whatever was the star back then. So it looks like the Great Pyramid was also built around that time, and the only inscriptions found inside the Great Pyramid are probably forgeries created by the his name slips my mind. The guy who basically blew his way into the Great Pyramid with explosives and shit, and he wanted to be famous, and so they scribbled these things in like some kind of charcoal on the upper chambers of the king's chamber. But they screwed up the writing, because they sort of knew how to write certain Egyptological names of kings and so on, but they messed up because the names of kings in the cartouches would be written in a slightly different way. So one of the elements would be a circle that would either have bars or not bars, and they got it wrong. So it looks like it was definitely a forgery. And there are no other inscriptions in the Great Pyramid. Plus, I've been inside the Great Pyramid after I read the book by Peter Le Mesurier, The Great Pyramid Decoded, and everything that Le Mesurier says in that book is correct. I have physically checked for myself that even the tiniest little details that he discusses in the Great Pyramid are there. And I was able to show my brother, for example, how certain chambers resonate sound and so on, just because I'd read that book. And there's no doubt in my mind that there's another guy who wrote a really good book on it, called The Giza Power Plant, I think. Chris Dunn is the guy's name. He's an engineer. And I think he's figured out what the original intent of that building is, because it is got that sense to it. It's got that feeling to it. It certainly was never a tomb, and it's got a sense to it that it was some kind of an engineering building that had a purpose, a practical purpose. So, yeah. But I could go on about that for hours and hours, so let me just move on. Firmament is an English translation in Hebrew. There you go. Woolly ram, that my man in Israel. And it's rakia phonetically, right? Because as you guys know, the Jews being parsimonious don't use vowels. They only have consonants. So it's RKY, I guess, or something. Rakia phonetically, meaning, but correct me if I'm wrong, Woolly Ram, but you wrote it as rakia, but theoretically, as an ignorant goyim, that would be RKY, I think, right, in Hebrew. So theoretically, I could fit in whatever vowels might work in there. I could say rokyo, right, or not. Am I wrong about that? Meaning very thin or something flattened by a smith. There's another thing about Hebrew language is that the etymology of the word, the root of the word, is very important, if I remember correct. Are the Nephilim hiding in Antarctica? Well, funny enough, Marco thinks that's a possibility. I think that's a bit far-fetched. What I do think is in Antarctica is a Nazi base. I believe I even have the location of it because they've made it a protected area where you can't go, and it's a whole mountain range because some kind of weird bird apparently lives there. Like, yeah, right. After the collapse, I'm going to be an Americanologist. Well, you're going to meet a lot of resistance from the what shall we call them? The transmission movement, the ones that argue about manual transmission against lubricated transmission and do some changes. You're going to find a lot of archaeological evidence of men called Bruce Jenner that a lot of people are going to try and say, no, but that was a beautiful woman called Caitlin, and you'll be able to prove them wrong empirically. Ave Maria. Ave Maria back to you. I'm part Nazi Nephilim. That's my high priestess. Well, I would expect nothing less. So, so you're German. There's some German in Dilo. That's amazing. Tell us more. Oh, 43 people watching. Okay, let's bump it up. Come on, you guys, don't be lazy. I've only got 7 thumbs up. Give me more. I'm greedy tonight. Well, now I'm curious about the origin of the high priestess. I thought you were part Aztec, and yeah, well, there you go. You just never know. Don't know who to trust. German, half German in my very own cult of personality. All right, well, this was a very random one. I just happened to have a little bit of time because my little barbarian went to bed a bit early. He was tired. What was that other word you guys wanted me to look up? It was intelligent. All right, let me grab that. Let me grab that volume. Okay, here we go. Intelligent. Honorably. What a nice word to open up on. Okay, implicit, incidents, inconsequent. A lot of the gammas on this channel are inconsequent because they get gamma-sided very quickly. Insipid, still intelligible. Intelligence. Intelligence or intelligent? What did you want? Let's just go. Let's go back. What was it? Intelligent. All right. Well, I've got intelligence, and I guess intelligent is probably just having the faculty of understanding, possessing intelligence or intellect. 2. Having a high degree or full measure of understanding, quick to understand, knowing, sensible, sagacious. 3. That understands or knows a particular thing, circumstance, or subject, cognizant of, acquainted with, versed in. 4. Bearing, intelligence, giving information, communicative. And that's that. Oh, it's also got B, which I've never seen that before. 1. An intelligent or rational being. A person of intelligence. Now rare. Tell me about it. It's very rare. 2. One who is cognizant of something, a recipient of intelligence or information, a hearer. 3. One who conveys intelligence or information, an intelligencer, a spy. And intelligence, the actual word, 1. The faculty of understanding, intellect. So people that tell you that your IQ doesn't matter, they're wrong. It's one of the most reliable measures of human, of a way to measure human potential. 2. Understanding as a quality admitting of degree. There you go. Specific superior understanding, quickness of mental apprehension, sagacity, said also in reference to animals. 3. Action or fact of mentally apprehending something, understanding, knowledge, cognizant, comprehensions of something. 4. An impersonation of intelligence or intelligence or rational being, especially applied to one that is or may be incorporeal, a spirit. Oh, it's new. 5. Interchange of knowledge, information, or sentient mutual conveyance of information, communication, intercourse. You didn't know intelligence was that sexy, did you? 6. A relation or footing, I think it says, of intercourse between persons or parties, a good or other understanding between or with. 7. Knowledge as to events communicated by or obtained from another, information, news, tidings. And I think that's it. Oh, there's another intelligence, another word, intelligence, transitive, A, to bring intelligence of an event, etc. To bring tidings, to inform. 2. To convey intelligence, to tell tales. There you go. Nothing too weird about that one. Okay. So let's see. Greetings. Inca. Oh, Aztec, how dare you? Oh, I'm so sorry. All you heart eaters look the same to us. So you were an Inca, not an Aztec. Very good. Peruvian Nazi, one of our girls from Brazil. Indeed, that's what you mean. So, see, I knew that you were specially created to be superior. What's your take on Michael Heiser and his divine council theory? Good. My take on Michael Heiser, I'm actually the guy who introduced Mike Heiser to the Dread Ilk. And I think it was Mark who that said, half jokingly, when somebody asked him, who's Mike Heiser? And he said, he's the Dread Ilk Pope. Now, the thing about Mike Heiser is he's very good. I do like him a lot because he is, first of all, he makes the etymology of the Bible quite interesting. Secondly, I think he is honest and he is what I would call a valid scientist in that he puts out his references of where he comes up with various things. That said, I think it's counterintuitive because, I don't think he's trying to do this, but because he is a Protestant and a lot of Protestants listen to him, they become the super loophole finders. They'll try and find some loophole about, but this word means that. The interesting thing is that Heiser does have a couple of places that I don't agree with him, and I think that he's got a rather weak position. But to be perfectly honest with you, they're such rarefied things, they don't really make a difference. But as far as this divine counsel thing goes, which I think is from Psalm 82, if I remember right, yeah, I've listened to about 6 hours of his talks, and I've read one of his books. I own one of his books. Very detailed. I think it makes sense. I think what he says is probably right. Decapitations with logos. There you go. That's where you get that little buzz of energy when I do a guy like Ranger, who I've made a little blog post about, because see, that's what people don't get. Ranger just thinks he can keep lying and talking shit on Social Galactic and making crap up, and then trying to like use the mods to like, oh, the Kurgan is trying to start a flame war. Like, yeah, you fag. Because I called him a liar, because he is. He's been a demonstrable liar. So he like whined and bitched to the moderators, which ignored him. And I said, no, but let's just use the rules of, no flame wars on Social Galactic. So I made a blog post about him, because what he doesn't realize is that when I come across a guy like that, I tend to screen capture. If you catch my attention as a deceiver, guess what happens? It's like the meme I showed you guys on Social Galactic, isn't it? Like one of these deceivers just speaks out of turn, and then, hey, what? What did you say? And before you know it, there's blood on the walls, and their head rolls off their shoulders, and there's all the lightning happening. So I screen captured a bunch of stuff months ago. And then when you just thought, oh, well, everybody's forgotten about that, there's no proof, bang, blog post with all the screen captures of his fucking lies. That's what happens. Speaking biblically, the last Nephilim was Og, king of Bashan, killed by Moses as the Israelites were busy crusading on the east shore of the Jordan. Okay, see, there's another guy who's very knowledgeable about the Old Testament, clearly, unlike me. And I would say that's probably correct if you say so, but I do believe there probably are little strains of Nephilim. An interesting, very speculative, very high speculation thing is that a lot of these Rothschilds and these, elite pedo, child-eating, adrenochrome addicted freaks might have some kind of relationship to the bloodline of these demonically created sort of half demigod type people. Heinz Gudberian, German peasant cultist here. Okay, I know what that means, but very good. Just minding my cows. Thanks for live streaming. Oh, you're most welcome. 8-cow woman story. I have no idea what that is. Does the church have a position on Nephilic remnants in this age? Not that I'm aware of, but it's pretty esoteric knowledge that your average Catholic probably wouldn't spend a lot of time on that. You would have to be a pretty deep into the Old Testament, really, to get into the whole Nephilim thing very deeply. You've got to remember that most Catholics are like, yeah, whatever. The Old Testament was about 400 years of prophecies telling us of how to recognize the Messiah when he came. And then he did come. And what did he say? And it's all in the New Testament. So, I find the Old Testament interesting from a historical perspective, personally, but I don't have the time. If you guys suddenly stump up a few million where I can just sit on my ass and do exactly what I want, yeah, I definitely go through the Old Testament in a lot more detail than I have. But I just don't have the time. There's so many interesting things to do that you got to pick your poison, I suppose. Tad slow here's to get the point. Oh, Escath de Silva. Oh, I remember. You're on Social Galactic. Have listened to some of his stuff. Tad slow here's to get to the point. Well, he's a deceiver, and he's a very advanced deceiver, by the way. Don't be fooled by Ranger. He's quite sneaky in his sneakiness, as you will see if you read the blog post. It's quite subtle, because in one message he will have various layers of deception, and if you're not used to spotting it, you'll forgive it. You'll think, oh, but he's just trying, as a certain German peasant says, he's just trying to masturbate on the bus. One of them. Of course, he's a Sudaka. I don't think he's a small hat, but he's a Sudaka and a lawyer, which is just as bad. I mean, it's Grabler par excellence, that sort of stuff. What are most important things needed to establish a city-state? People. Nobilis Corvus, that's a very good question, actually, because that's something that's been on my mind quite a bit. I have mentioned, and I will probably have a little mention of it in the book that I'm finally getting to the end of editing. You know, I've made, I believe I did a video before, the last video probably, or the last live stream, where I discussed why hardcore zealots is the way to go and why it's a good thing to, you know, be a hardcore Catholic or get the fuck out. You know, that doesn't mean I hate everybody else, whatever, but if you're going to be a Baptist, go be a Baptist with the Baptists. Don't come here. You know, don't do this. But if you are, and why? Because Catholicism has historically been proven, it works, and so on. Proper Catholicism, of course, not Novus Orchianism. But if you're going to do that, you know, you should try and get a piece of land and get other Catholics, hardcore Catholics, to move in with you. Now, in the UK, there's a group that I associate with, and they are already busy trying to do this. There's always going to be people disagreeing. There's always going to be arguments. There's always going to be theological little tete-a-tetes, unless you stick with your own kind. And in my particular sense, as far as Catholicism goes, my own kind is non-una cum traditional Catholics. That means that when you do the Mass, the priest does not refer to any of the apostate popes, ever, because they're apostate heretics, and you do not join a satanic scumbag with our Lord's most absolute sacrifice for us. So, you know, there were some people that are not of that persuasion that think, oh, but even the people that are una cum or the SSPX guys, you know, they're kind of nice guys, and then they'll eventually turn around. Yeah, whatever. You know, it's not that I won't have a coffee with you. It's not that I'll spit in your face if I see you, if you're a una cum, whatever. It's fine. You can do whatever you want. But if you're going to be part of my community, you either going to stick with the absolute correct dogmatic position of Catholicism, or if you still want to be in that community, you will shut the fuck up. Why? Because that way there is no argument. And yes, if you are not one of those Catholics, you're a third-class citizen. You're not even second-class. You're a third-class citizen. You have no say in the leadership of it. You have no say in the organization of it. None. You get to quietly go about your business as long as you don't bother anybody, and as long as you don't try to set up your heretic, heathen, or pagan religion in our Catholic mini city-state. And if as a city-state doesn't work, you know, you can't just take over a city, which would be ideal, because you've already got the infrastructure, then build your own. Build your own. Buy a piece of land together. I suggest, you know, to avoid sort of cultish type behavior, get all together, form a company, put all the money together, and apportion that land that you buy in, you know, proportionally. So whoever puts in 100, he gets 100's worth of that land or say or whatever. Make some rules, make it fair, make it equitable. Some people might not have money, but can put in sweat labor. You know, maybe a guy's a bricklayer, doesn't have a cent to his name, but he can build bits of the houses, and that counts for something. But remember the saying, right? I've worked with contracts for many, many years in my life. There is no reason, none, absolutely no reason why honest men would not put in writing what they have agreed to. None. Anybody that says, oh, let's just do it in a handshake, no reason, okay? You can be the best, most honest guy. Let's just put it down. It takes 2-3 pages of writing. Why not? And again, use Roman law. Don't use, you know, Anglican or American law as a joke. It's, you know, it's retarded. Just use very simple, these are the principles, that's what we think, and put it on there. You know, if you want to be sure, like, we applying Roman law, not legalistic bullshit laws. That's what we've agreed to. That's it. You both sign it, done. And then that way everybody knows where they stand. There was a guy that actually emailed me, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. I forgot what his name is. And he said, look, we're thinking of buying a property of about $50,000, $60,000 to anybody in this area. And I think it was Pennsylvania, if I remember right. So if any of you are in Pennsylvania, put it on Social Galactic or ping me an email or whatever, and I'll try and put you guys in touch. Because that's the way to go. That is the way to go. Create your own city-state. All you need is people. And if you say, oh, but I don't have enough people, well, get married, make some. It's not about you. It's not just about you. It's about your children, your children's children, and so on and so forth. All right, where are we? Okay. It's a long shot, but is he family of Ronald Heiser, CEO of the Boss Maker? I have no idea. Hey Kurgan, I'm looking, I guess, to purchase your book on Systema. Would you recommend Systema for a double amputee? Above knee, below knee. So are you a double amputee as in that you've got one leg missing from the top of the knee and one below the knee? Yeah, I would. I absolutely. In fact, I would think Systema is probably the best one for you. I'm assuming that you've got some kind of I forgot, prosthetics, like fake legs or whatever. And forgive me if I'm politically incorrect. I am not making fun of you missing legs, dude. I feel for you. But yeah, Systema absolutely would be the best because it teaches you to work with whatever you've got. We had older guys, we had everybody. The whole point about Systema is it teaches you to use what you can, how you can, wherever you can, from whatever position you're in, from whatever situation you're in. So that absolutely is the best. And you might even have some advantages that you don't immediately think of because, if you've got parts or extensions of your body that you can use that you don't actually feel pain on, well, just imagine how hard you can really kick with that leg. Yes, maybe it'll come off. I don't know how it's strapped in or whatever, but all you need is one really good shot. You can definitely break somebody else's leg with your fake leg, I'm guessing. I don't know, but yeah, yes, I would. You're gonna take the vaccine? Are you kidding? How long have you been here? You must be new. Bully Ram says, practically speaking, a layman has no need to know about the Nephilim. Exorcists, on the other hand, very true. Now, I do not suggest that you have anything to do with exorcism. It is not a joke. It is a very dangerous thing to do. I have unfortunately had some experience with that stuff, which I won't go into. I'm not a fan of horror or anything like that. But I've read the book by Malachi Martin. And, there's all sorts of theories and ideas about Malachi Martin. Was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? Whatever. I think he probably was a good guy. He certainly realized what Vatican II was and he kind of stepped away from it. And he discusses, and he was an exorcist, and he discusses about the various possessions that he dealt with. Now, if you don't know anything about the stuff, you could read that book and think, oh, it's probably fiction or part fiction or something. Because I have some knowledge of that stuff, I realized that that man was not talking fiction. He was maybe changing a few things here and there to cover up who he was talking about. But that book's not fiction. And let me tell you, it's a hard book to read because in reading that book, if you get in a certain mental state, you will, to a certain extent, open the door for these things. So yeah, exorcists are tough people. Now, the very interesting thing about exorcists is that being an exorcist is one of the 4 minor orders of holy orders. So you don't actually have to be a priest to be an exorcist originally. Now, the church changed that, and it's not dogmatic change of divine law. It's a change to protect people, and it's a change, like, for example, the whole thing about having cardinals vote for the Pope. Cardinal is just an earthly thing, and then you say, oh, but the Pope said that only cardinals can vote for the Pope. Yes, and again, that's a practical thing. Back in the beginning, there wasn't cardinals, and yet they voted popes in. So, and the past does not get invalidated by the future in Catholicism, or vice versa. So you don't need to have cardinals to elect a pope. It is the rule that was made when we still had cardinals and a lot of bishops and so on. Now all of that is gone, so it's irrelevant. But So yeah, exorcists, or if you're dealing with possession and stuff like that, it's not a joke. Get a proper priest if you can, because on your own, um, you have to have a unshakable level of faith to just fend these fuckers off. And I'm lucky in that respect, in that I've always had a very strong mental approach to things. But even then, you're not really, you don't know what you're dealing with. It's like you're a fish, and all of a sudden you're out of the water, and it's not your element. You don't know how the rules work. You don't know anything really, and it's very easy to make a mistake. So yeah, I wouldn't fuck around with exorcism unless you're a priest. Pretty much, it's a good idea. There are people, and I have luckily been able to overcome, let's say, the things that I encountered, or that came at me or whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't advise it. It's I would sooner advise you to be a soldier in a war than to go and do, to deal with exorcist stuff. It's safer to be a soldier in a war zone, definitely. Is there any truth to Eastern Orthodox doctrine? I'll give you my best, shortest answer. The Eastern Orthodox are a lot closer to the truth than certainly any Protestant. If you think of, I've done this before, I've done a sketch. Think of this as a, oh, that's bright. Think of this as a bullseye, right? If this is a bullseye, and let's say the center right there, that's the truth. Let's call that hardcore Catholicism because I'm so clever, right? It doesn't matter. Let's just say that's the truth, right in the center. Protestantism, and if you take, let's say that from the center to out here is a measure of time, right? So Jesus was there in the center. You go 500 years out, you're here. You go 1,000 years out, that's where it is. 1,000 years out, the Catholic Church and the Orthodox split. Another 500 years after that, that's when the Protestants appeared. That's how far you are from bullseye. If you're a Protestant, at a minimum, just starting point, you're 2/3 out. You're 2/3 of the distance out. So now an Orthodox were there. They were there with the Catholics. So if you're going to be something, be an either Orthodox or a Catholic. But who catechized the world? The Catholics, not the Orthodox. The Orthodox didn't even catechize the Japanese. I mean, we had to go all around, and then we had to catechize the Japanese, and there was Japanese samurai. Keep in mind, to be a Christian in Japan was a death sentence. But they have found recently, not too long ago, that some samurai, inside their scabbard, inside their sword, in the handle of the sword, they had carved in crosses. They were secret Catholics. They were secret Christians. So, they didn't proselytize, they didn't convert anybody, and they made deals with the Muslims, and they betrayed the Catholics who came to help them when they came to ask for help during the Crusades. And, so yeah. I've got a lot of very good Russian Orthodox friends, and generally speaking, the Russian Orthodox tend to be far less converged than, if you're going to tell me your average Eastern Orthodox compared to your average nominal, badly catechized Catholic, I'll go with the Orthodox every time, just because they're less converged, less cucked. But correctly, if you want to be correct, then, there's a reason that I chose Catholicism. Sneaky in his sneakiness, indeed. When I found out about Nephilims, suddenly various deities and mythologies started making sense. Absolutely. Peva and Bear, indeed. The whole Greek mythology, Zeus, I mean, look at Aphrodite. I mean, what a slut, right? And Zeus also, he banged everything that moved. The ancient gods were like, they weren't really different from humans in their, power struggles and so on. And yeah. Is it possible to defeat Orcian pedophiles without first planting rice fields? Yeah, absolutely. Look how quickly the world changed in the last 3 months. And there's a very important thing you guys have to keep in mind. You have to absolutely keep in mind. Convert your friends, convert your family. It is an absolute fact that within a couple of generations, the people that stick to it the most win. We're just going to outbreed them. So don't worry about it. Wooly Ram says, a while back it struck me our grey and insipid perception of reality is a demonic lie. It is. It absolutely. Most people have got no idea of just how badly out of whack with the truth we are. It's shocking. I could go on about that for hours, but it's nearly been an hour again. I really enjoy these talks, and they go so quickly. So they end up being really probably too long for most people. Archie Bear, I just got here and it looks like Dances with Logos is insulting herself. Is this bizarro world? Dilo doesn't insult herself. You just got it wrong, Archie Bear. We've just discovered that she is the product of superhuman genetic modification by Nazis. There you go. She's just better than everybody else. Kurgan, your eyes got sad and far away when you talked about exorcism. That's intense. I wasn't aware that I did that, but yeah, the stuff with look, it's pointless going. I don't really want to talk about this stuff for two reasons. One is because it will attract the wrong type of people, and two, the wrong type of people are going to try and mess with it, and it will mess them up. In the Sistema book, I talk about, for example, how you can learn to see auras. It's a skill I've taught to hundreds of people. In 5-10 minutes, I can teach just about anybody to see auras. But there's other things that come with that, And it's okay if you just want to see auras and see that you can see them. Oh, great, cool. Let's just stop there, leave it there. If you start to delve deeper and deeper and deeper into that stuff, it can lead into places that are dangerous just by their very nature because they're not your place, I'm an explorer by nature. I've always been. I've got genetically explorers in my blood for at least 800 documented years. Okay, so in the places where I go and I survive, the average person should not even go anywhere near. And most of them will not even make it in there before they're dead. And those who do go in don't ever come out. So, don't play to your strengths, do what you're good at. I've got really odd hobbies, so. Just like minutes of angle in shooting, distance make things exponentially farther. Okay, I don't know what that was in relation to. Being wrong for an inch or being wrong for a mile is the same, yeah, especially with life and death stuff, The movie Silence touches on the secret Catholics in Japan. I haven't seen that. Is that a recent film, Cactus Eat a Bear? Benjamin Brandt, that is absolutely not true in real life. I don't know what you're talking about that. Just like minutes of angle in shooting, distance makes things exponentially farther. Okay, I don't know what you're referring to, Benjamin. And I don't know if you're talking to me, but whatever. Woolly Ram, what does it mean that the Orthodox have valid sacraments? So, my understanding, and I haven't looked into this very deeply, they do have some sacraments that are valid. I believe that their Eucharist is valid, but they're kind of, so for example, let's say you take a priest who was validly ordained, who then, I don't know, rapes a kid, right? He's a pedophile, but he's a validly ordained priest. When he's found out and whatever, he should be defrocked and therefore no longer allowed to do the sacraments. But if somebody doesn't know about that and they take sacraments from him, the sacraments are deemed valid because you don't know what's, it's not about whether the priest is good or bad or whatever. It's about whether it was done correctly. And if you did the form correctly, the sacrament is deemed valid. My understanding of the Orthodox, and I'm not saying that they're child molesters, by the way, I'm just saying, they went off the path. They went kind of a bit wrong. The thing about the filioque is retarded. I mean, if you actually read what the filioque difference is and you read the Bible, it's obvious that they're wrong. But, again, the way I think of it is like the Orthodox are a lot closer to the truth than any of the other denominations, except for the Catholics, which we are right. Those farmers among us with acreage can feed you while you crusade. Slanty Schaffer Bear, that is not even a joke. That is actually correct. Most people are not built to be crusaders. I am not built to be a farmer. I love farmers. I love so-called peasants. They're some of the wisest, coolest people that you'll ever meet. They're honest, they're generous, they're really good people. Anyone that works with the earth and whatever, it's hard to find a really bad guy that's a farmer. And they're not built to fight and create armies and, protect them. That's not their thing. They make the food. Now, I would love nothing better than to have my little personal fiefdom, and I would be generous with my peasants and my farmers. I would only take what I need to live and for my family to live, and I would absolutely have a small cohort of people like myself who all we would do is train and protect our farmers. They provide the food, we would provide the protection. Somebody steals one of their goats, we will go get that goat back, or that cow. That is absolutely, I believe, how it should work. And remember that Catholicism is hierarchical. And I am absolutely of that opinion, and I absolutely believe in hierarchy. So if you're a farmer and you're a peasant, you do your peasant stuff, you do your farmer stuff. If I am a crusading type, I'll do my crusading type. If it is my job to be the warrior type, then I will man the walls. And if we get attacked, and I get speared in the throat and die a bad, ugly death, tough shit, that's my job. There's no whining about it. There's no like, we put our lives on the line, like the cops. Fucking, I hate that about cops. Useless lying fags. Oh, we put our lives on the line. Who forced you? Who put a gun to your head, bitch? You chose to be a cop. You chose to be a soldier. Then shut up. And if you get shot and die, so what? That's your job. You chose that. You're one of those class of warriors, be a warrior. Don't bitch. At the same time, if you're the farmer, and I'm willing to take the bullet for you when it comes, you're a citizen. You're a citizen. It doesn't matter if you're a farmer, it doesn't matter if you're a prostitute. You're a citizen in my walled city, in my Catholic city, and you happen to be a prostitute. You're not proselytizing any weird religion. You're sinning because you're a sinner. I'm a sinner. We're all sinners to some degree. You're specifically sinning in that thing. I don't care. You're a prostitute in my Catholic city, and I'm the warrior. I will fight to the death to protect the people in my village. At the same time, farmer, you provide the food, dude. You had a bad winter, whatever. We share it evenly. We do it fairly. But if I'm out there doing my job, you do your job. And the guy that's building the sewers, build good sewers, dude. Very important job. We don't want to be drowning in shit. So that's absolutely how I would do. And so, yeah, Slanty Schaffer Bear, if you've got a nice big piece of land, let me know where we can build a fiefdom. Okay, James is bowing out. Makes sense. David Lorentzen, Kurgan, I'm half Swedish and half Hungarian. Can you please roast Swedish and Hungarian people? Well, the Swedish people have already done. It's video 114. It was banned immediately by YouTube. I think because some fan Americans complained. The Swedish are kind of like all the Nordic races. They're like fish. They don't blink. They don't have that thing where like somebody stares at you. You're like, hey, what the hell are you looking at? They're just like, And Hungarians, I don't know much about the Hungarians. I think their whole population is built of prostitutes and pimps, but I don't know that much about them. Exorcist equals extremely lonely. Lone or extreme loneliness. Yeah, to a certain extent, I suppose. Systema will be the next book. Oh, well, thank you. David's gone done it. I don't know what that means. Oh, Scorsese. I don't know that I like Martin Scorsese's films, but okay, I'll take a look. Diverged religions. Oh, right. So Benjamin Brandt was talking about how when you start to diverge a little bit, you're going to miss the target by miles. So, yeah. It is, and Eastern Orthodoxies diverge from the truth, but certainly a lot less than Protestantism. I need to abandon the ark early. Got to pray the rosary before I need to get to work. Enjoy your evening. God bless you all. Well, have a good evening. Christy Miles, she's probably left already. Is that a man or a woman? Christy, I guess it's a girl. Have I read the Screwtape Letters? Yes, I did many years ago, and I found them quite funny, to be honest. In retrospect, I read them when I was very much Zen agnostic, didn't believe in any of that stuff, and I thought it was very funny. In retrospect, thinking, I haven't reread it, but thinking about it now, it's quite still a very rosy painted picture of demonic things. But yeah, although he was sort of mere Christianity was sort of my introduction a little bit to Christianity, that I sort of thought, okay, whatever. But I'm not a huge fan of C.S. Lewis. He writes very well, and he wrote some very good things. But I find him too English. I find he always dodges the bullet. He always dodges the deep questions. What I would have loved to have found before I became Christian, and it probably would have sped my becoming a Christian, would have saved me years, is Chesterton. Chesterton, I love reading Chesterton. He's just like a hammer in your face. He's got that thing where he writes a sentence that you think, that's absurd, it's absolutely outrageous, what the hell is this guy talking about? And you read two more sentences and you're like, oh, and he was right. Yeah, of course, that's true, that makes sense. He's really good. In America, we say all churches are cut churches. That's pretty true, most so-called Christians are churchians. And that goes for every denomination, but, yeah. Any more book recommendations? Yeah, I was actually thinking about that before I came on. I've been threatening to do this for some time. It's no point doing it on a video after we're 1 hour in or whatever, I'm going to eventually, when I get a day, a few hours, I'm going to make a blog post and I'll just list like the top 100 books that I've read or something like that. Rodney Stark books, yeah. Carry on with Rodney Stark. If you've read God's Battalions and you've read How the West Won and you've read Bearing False Witness, those are all Rodney Stark books. I suggest read Of Iron Men and Saints by Harold Lamb, was written in the 30s. Another freak of nature in terms of history. Brilliant book. Historically accurate and very well written, so it's also entertaining to read. If you've read that one as well, then read The Great Siege 1565 by, I don't know how to pronounce it, Ernol something Bradford. Excellent book, again, very good book about the Siege of Malta. And if you don't get inspired by those books, check your pulse, because you're dead. Is a good way to distinguish whether someone is a farmer or warrior is how excited they are for conflict, or is it just behavior? Now, my father actually sent me a really awesome Venetian, it's in Venetian, it's a Venetian thing, about a soldier walking into a tavern and seeing an old, what he thought was an old soldier, and he sits down with him and goes, oh, you're an old soldier, I'm a young soldier, can you teach me about being a soldier? And the old man, who's, has got scars on him, you can see he's been fighting all his life, looks at him and goes, I'm not a soldier. Being a soldier is, you're stupid, being a soldier, you're going to fight for other people. I'm no soldier. But you've been in battles. What's that scar? I can recognize that's a knife wound, that's a bullet wound. The guy goes, yeah, I'm no soldier. I'm a warrior. I fight for the people I love and my people. That's it. And it's not nice. I don't enjoy war, but I'll do it. And that is precisely the attitude. So, if you think that someone like me enjoys conflict, you're not completely wrong, but you're not completely right either. Because, real conflict, and I'm not talking about, oh, you're in a gym, you're training, you get your nose broken. That's nothing. That is literally nothing. That's your friend breaking your nose to try and make you a bit faster. That's nothing. Conflict is when you've got people trying to kill you and trying to kill your family and trying to harm your children. That's conflict. No one likes that. Now, the difference in attitude is a farmer that's faced with that. You don't know if he's a farmer or if he's a warrior in his heart. You don't know. I have seen men that you would not think would harm a fly. When the shit hits the fan, they're there. They won't step back. They're next to you. And they don't even know how to fight and never trained. They don't know shit, but they're like, fuck that, I'm fighting. One of the best descriptions of how to understand the mentality of that is one of the guys that taught me about Sistema is a Greek guy. He lives in Canada. He's a really nice man. And I had done a lot of karate before Sistema, and I was pretty good at Sistema. I was really kind of, teaching and stuff, but taking shots to the sternum, just below the sternum here, it's like, that was like my weak spot. It was like, man, I can't take a punch there. I don't know how to take a punch there without blocking or getting out the way. If it hits me there, it like whacks me. Now, there's a reason for that, and that is also your body stores memories. And I had been hit there very hard at a very young age, when I was still a kid in school, a few times in various different confrontations, things that happened, whatever. And then in training, of course, also in karate, I'd got hit there a few times as well. So my body was naturally flinching and afraid of this. So two things helped me. First, a half French, half Nigerian guy who said, look, we've got to get rid of this problem for you. Because I was really good at not getting hit there, but if I did get hit there, it was like, it would affect me to the point where I wasn't, able to move as quickly and carry on. I'll be able to carry on, but not effectively. So he, for about an hour, he just said, look, we're going to have to train this. So he just, bam, started banging me there, and I just had to take it. There was no dodging. It was just like, oh, okay. And he would bang me to the limit of my ability to handle it every time, which, after 3 times that he's done that, you've had enough, and you still got an hour to go. So, so it was interesting. But that helped me because it released a lot of that fear, a lot of that tension. But it was this Greek guy that really drove the concept home. And at that time, I was single-ish, and I certainly didn't have a wife, didn't have kids. And I was discussing this with him, and he said, look, it's easy for you. For a guy like you, it's very easy to understand this. Look, I'm going to stand there, I'm going to punch you, and you do naturally, what comes naturally to you, pretend that you're protecting an empty parking lot. And he came at me. He just gave me a proper full-on punch. I'm like, what? I'm protecting a... Fuck that. I was out the way. He didn't get anywhere near me. Didn't touch me. Didn't even touch my t-shirt. And I said, oh, good, good. Okay, now, again, stand there. I'm going to come at you. But now, imagine you've got your wife and your child and your son or your daughter standing behind you. And he just finished that sentence, and he just, again, came at me. And he gave me a solid... And this guy knows how to punch. He's a Sistema guy who's been training with one of the top people for like 15 years at this point. So he's one of the top guys in the world. And he gave me that punch. It bounced off me. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I did it. But he put that idea in my head, and I was like, well, this is not going through. I don't give a shit if it's a 50 mil cannon. It's just going to have to not go through, and it didn't. And he said, there, now you know how to take a punch. And I was like, what? But it was immediately made sense. I was like, oh, because I was trying to take every punch. Why? Just take the one you have to take, Don't take the ones you don't need to take. So yeah. They don't blink. They don't. Norwegians. Have you ever seen a Norwegian in a bar? That's you come in, you look at a guy, you glance, you go into an Italian bar, you glance, and it's like, yeah, okay, just I noticed you come in, even if you don't know each other, it's like, okay, no, I'll just look away now. No, I wasn't looking at your girlfriend. Oh, yeah, I was, but okay, I kind of looking away now. You go into a Swedish bar, and I'm assuming it's like this. Hello, would you like a beer? This is your wife. Would you like a beer? Swedish people. Plus, they're always naked, which is okay for the women. They look pretty, but, I think they probably just lie there. Are you caught up on the two Lucias? What is your opinion on the false sisters, Lucy imposter. I have no idea what you're talking about, Gabriel Volante. So you're gonna have to tell me, or I probably won't know what you're talking about anyway. Woolly Ram, if you truly think about it, the Eucharist is a mind-boggling thing. It absolutely is. And I'll tell you one more thing. The Eucharist has been tested in laboratories. I don't want to lie. I think it's 7 different times it's happened, in different decades as well, that the Eucharist spontaneously became a piece of heart tissue. So it was still part, like, the flattened bread, and then it sort of started bleeding. And they put this stuff in laboratories and they tested it, and they found out that it was actually heart tissues living, bleeding, and I believe they even figured out the blood type. And if I remember right, and I don't want to lie, I read this some time ago, it was, I think, O positive or O negative or something like that was one of those. It was the universal donor one, if I remember correct. Look it up, Google it, okay? And these things were done at least once or twice in reputable laboratories, and they couldn't explain it. The guys who did the tests were like, I'm not a believer, but I don't know how to explain this. Shake someone's hand and you know what they're about most of the time. Indeed. Kurgan, any thoughts on fasting for spiritual development, increasing connection to divine? Yeah, it works. I have done it sometimes unconsciously, sometimes on purpose. It definitely does work. Again, Mark, who is very much into describing fasting for health, periodic fasting, 3-4 days fast, even longer, week fast, water fast. So you drink water, you have to take additional salt, you have to take additional magnesium, probably a couple of other trace elements and so on. And it melts the fat away because you go into ketosis and your body starts to use your fat cells instead of everything else. And then after you've done that fast, you stick to a keto diet, you'll definitely lose a lot of your fat. Well, within 6 weeks, you will easily lose, depends on how polluted your body is. But, within 6 weeks, when I'd done it and I didn't realize I had because your internal flora can be all messed up. Like I had excess candida, and it's not the sexual candida, it's the actual candida that lives in your gut. And I wasn't feeling well. I was really ill for like a couple of years, weak and not feeling strong. And I was still training and stuff, but I wasn't feeling good. And then one of the Dread Ilk said, look, you probably have excess candida, you should do this. And he told me what to do, which is like basically drink a big vegetable soup without any of the vegetables, just the broth, for 2 days, which is really a way to make you water fast. And then just stick to meat, cut out all the carbs and so on. And I did that religiously for 6 weeks. I lost 7 kilos, which is about 15, 16 pounds. And again, got trim, got fit, and the levels of energy were, went through the roof again. So probably something I need to do again. So yeah, and the fasting for spiritual stuff, I found, and this is my own personal thing, and I'm not a doctor, and if you do anything about the stuff I talk or write about, that's on you. Let's make that very clear. You are responsible for you. I'm not responsible for you. Nothing I say or do or have done is, for you to copy. If you decide to do so, that's on you. But I found that full fasting, including water fasting, is actually quite a bit more powerful. And I've done, probably 30 hours with no water or anything before. The Russians also do it with no water, and they train. They have a normal day. They'll have a normal 24 hours with no water. And they say that it kills off all the half-crippled cells so that you get brand new, fresh cells. I don't know about the science behind it. I didn't investigate it, but it does work. I find it efficient. So yeah. Why would anyone drink beer when wine is available? Woolly Ram, as my man in Israel, and therefore, a deeply powerful warrior of advanced techniques, as you well know, most people are idiots. Sadly, most people are also peasants. And I don't mean the good farmer types. I mean the illiterate, we in the street types who drink beer. That's why. Please, Kurgan, look up two Lucias. Dude, I got a lot of stuff to do. Suora Lucia was the girl who saw the Fatima. Yes, I know about that. She was replaced in the 1960s by the Novus Ordo. Google search Sister Lucy Impostor Avenue. I don't care, dude. I don't care about the two Lucias. I don't care if she was replaced. It's nothing that I can do anything about. It's nothing that particularly interests me. The whole Fatima thing is related to a certain extent to the end of the world. I don't worry about the end of the world. I don't worry about the second coming. I don't worry about Satan being loosed in the world, because I am not afraid of any of those things, and I don't think they are necessarily for us to worry about. It was AB Universal Receiver. Okay, listen, Pedersen is referring to the tests on the Eucharists that turn to living heart tissue, and I'm guessing he's either Googled it or he knows, and I believe he's correct. I remember it was Universal something, I couldn't remember, but Universal Receiver makes actually more sense if you think about the sacrifice he did, isn't it? Yeah, I like this. I saw somebody that did a little like quote, you know, the Kurgan. If you kill your enemies, then they're dead. The Kurgan. And I see that Niels Sild, I don't know if it's him that did the last one, but I quite like how you guys paraphrase my. If you starve yourself to death, it's on you, the Kurgan. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate these, you know, summaries of my. It's very nice. 3-day fasting, distilled water only, is said to trigger stem cells. No idea if that's true or not. Dry fasting works, agreed. I've done it several times. Great for your skin, which is quite indicative of what it does for your body generally. I don't know. I don't really notice about my skin and stuff like that. You know, like you guys see, I've got a little. I don't know if in the black and white comes out, but I've got like a little mark here, and like there's a bit of a almost like a crease in my face here, and that's because I've had my, you know, I broke my nose 4 times. You can see that it's not a perfect straight line. Twice just on my own, twice in training. So I don't breathe very well from the right side. So at night I just put a plaster to keep it open. I should get an operation and stuff, but you know, I'm always busy. I got stuff to do, and I've been doing that for probably 20 years now. There you can probably see the hint of a crease there. And I remember, you know, I'm talking about probably almost 10 years ago already. When I saw my dad, I went to Africa and I checked him out, and he goes, what is that scar on your face? And I said, no, it's not a scar, it's just plasters, it's just forms. He goes, dude, but it's like leaving a mark on your face, you know. And I was like, yeah, don't give a shit, Dad, you know, I gotta breathe, and I don't care what my face looks like. It's not really that important, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't notice whether it's better for my skin or not. It's done 2 and 3 days. Gonna do a 24-hour dry fast soon. Avenge me. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't. I think some of the Russian guys go up to 48 hours with a dry fast, but I would suggest you don't start off with that, you know. Plus, you know, be careful, because I don't know what your conditions are. I don't know, maybe you get really dehydrated, or maybe you're really unhealthy and you drop dead. That's on you again. Is it better to burn out than to fade away? Of course it is. I've told you guys this before. The first time I saw that film, I think I was about 16, and I was, as soon as that scene came on, and like, it's better to burn out than fade away. I was like, yes, he's right. And I've never changed my mind since. Movement Explorer, a born-again Christian, recently told me that Revelation already happened and that it was specifically for the Jews in about 100 AD. Are you familiar with this line of thinking? I've heard about it. Yeah, I know about it. It's premillennialism, anti-millennialism. I couldn't care less, dude. It's related to when does Satan get released on the world and when does the second coming happen. And as far as I'm concerned, the way I think it works out is Satan probably was already released in the world, judging by what's going on. the second coming is going to be pre-shadowed by a lot of evil, nasty shit that will kill off a lot of people and make almost everybody believe that there is no Jesus and that Christianity sucks. So I'm planning to be, if it happens in my lifetime, one of the guys that holds out till the very end. So like I said, I'm not really worried. Setting noses is fun. Yeah, I've done it with the, I think it was the back of a spoon that I shoved up my own nose to like pull it back straight. But yeah, it wasn't exactly the height of perfect surgery. From personal experience, fasting is very tranquil. Lent was a revelation. Lent is an awesome thing and has been historically, very hard for me to do properly. But absolutely, very, very cool. Live fast, die fun. There you go. Not young, fun. Breed like rabbits, fight like wolves. The Kurgan. There you go. Exactly. Exactly. And I started late. I mean, imagine if I had started making kids when I was in my 20s. I would already have an army. I would have an army of probably about 20 kids already in their 20s or thereabouts. Admittedly, a lot of them would be with, a lot of different women. But, I lived in Africa a long time. You can excuse that sort of thing. But no, I'm still making a lot of kids as it is, and I'm already 50. So all of you young ones who are not making kids, not getting married, weak, very weak, weak juju. You gotta up your game. Speaking of prophecy, especially end of days prophecies, have a look at the end of life prophecies by Saint Jacob Moses. All right. Well, I did read a whole little book on prophecies. That was quite interesting because it collated a bunch of them from many centuries and whatever. And they all pretty much say the same thing. So I'm kind of like, I actually many years ago went to this lady who was actually able to tell the future. And I honestly thought it was a bunch of shit when I first did it. Except that she described some things that I had forgotten. So it wasn't telepathy. I couldn't put it down to telepathy. I couldn't put it down to cold reading because she told me a very specific, detailed story about a dog that I'd found. How long have I gone on? An hour and a half. Well, there's 60 of you. You crazy people listening to all my weird shit. But all right, I'll tell you this quick story. So I went to this medium. And the reason I went to her is because I went to this random talk that she was giving. I was sitting in the back of the class and I just had a really hard training session in karate, and I was sitting there and just relaxed, chilled out, and I started to see auras, which had happened before. And I saw like what looked like people standing behind her, and I thought, what the hell is that? Like that looks like there's like something standing behind her. Then these other ladies came on, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I saw like a little triangle going off the top of their heads, like a little cone, which is actually a chakra. It's one of the chakras, the top of your head. But again, I didn't know any of this stuff. I just saw it. I was like, okay. So at the end of the talk, I went to speak to her to try and find out, do I have like dirty contact lenses or something, or is there something real to this? So I went and asked her, and I said, listen, when you were giving the talk, was there somebody standing behind you? Which sounded like a completely stupid question, right? Now, this lady didn't even bat an eyelid. She was like, oh, I don't know, because I was giving the talk, but probably I usually have my spirit guides when I'm giving a talk. And I swear to you people that in that moment, I thought, look at these goddamn hippies. They will say any old shit just to make you believe that they got some woo-woo magic power. What a load of fucking horseshit. This is what was going through my head. Her husband that was sitting next to her stand up and goes, that's very interesting, but did you see that when the other two ladies came up, they had like a little upside down hat on top of their head? Very English. And at that moment I was like, I didn't say jack about that. I didn't say anything about that. And this guy saw it too. So, all right, what's this about? And then I went to see her, and she used to do what they call readings, and she started telling me about my dead grandfather, which, okay, fair enough, that could be cold reading. But she told me this thing where she goes, oh, there's a dog next to your foot. And I was like, yeah, I had a dog. What does he look like? She goes, oh, he's a black dog with round ears, very, kind of like a Labrador. It's like, nah, it's not my dog. Never had a dog like that. She's like, no, but it's your dog. It's definitely your dog. It's lying next to you. It's got its like face on your foot, and it's your dog. That's definitely your dog. It's a black dog with round ears. I like, lady, I never had a dog like that. She goes, no, but I'm sure. Look, and she kept looking, and she says, no, but there's something wrong with his back. His back is broken and his guts are out. And only then did I remember. I was driving home late at night in Botswana, this was, and came across this dog in the middle of the road that had been run over, and its back was broken, its guts were out, but it was still alive, in the middle of the road. So I stopped the car, put on the hazards, I came out, and I had a blanket, weirdly enough, in my car. And I gently, and he was in pain, and he was like, but he was also like that fear, that pain and fear of like, fuck, somebody help me, sort of thing. And I was there, and I was like, fuck, I managed to slowly put him on the blanket with his guts and everything, because I couldn't just pick him up because his guts would stream out. And this other car stopped. These two black guys, big black guys, came out, fit. I don't mean big like fat, I mean big like trained, big guys came out and says, what are you doing, man? And I'm like, hey, the dog got hit. Oh, it's your dog. I was like, no, it's not my dog. I don't know whose dog it is. And I was like half picking the dog up, I managed to put him on the blanket, and he goes, it's not your dog. No. So what are you doing with it? Well, I'm taking him home to call a vet. I don't know. See. But it's not your dog. No. But then leave the dog. What are you doing, man? Fuck the dog. Who gives a shit about the dog? I started to put the dog back slowly down, and I fucking nearly lost it, right? I'm going to put this dog down. Just let me put the dog down, because now I'm going to fuck you up. You both. And, they were like a foot taller than me and built. And I was like, I'm going to leave you in the fucking road, but the dog is coming with me. But you and your friend, you and your boyfriend, you're going down now. And he was like, he just looked at me. He's like, no, we're sorry. Where are you from, sir? No, we'll help you. Please don't lose your temper with us. No. What's your name? Where are you from? I said, I'm from Italy. Who gives a shit where I'm from? No, please, Tony. Tony Montana. You're like Scarface. No. We help you. Tony, please, don't kill us. We will help you. I will carry the blanket. I'm very sorry. And they helped me put the dog in the car. I got home, and it was 1 a.m, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. This dog's not gonna make it, So I called the vet, and because at that time you had everybody's number, and there was no cell phones. The guy picks up and he goes, yeah. And I said, look, man, I picked up a dog in the road. The guts are out. And he goes, but it's 1 a.m. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Get out of bed. Come over here. See if you can save the dog or do something. So he was pissed, but he came out, and he just brought an injection because the dog. Its guts were literally all over the place. So he just gave it an injection and killed it. But I'd forgotten about this. This was just like a random thing that happened. And how the hell she could know that? So, and she told me a bunch of other stuff that I just thought, she's talking nonsense. She told me I would be living in England on the Thames. And I was just, well, 10 years later, I'm on the Thames. And she made tape for me, And I was like, wait a minute, I'm literally living I can see, if I spit out of my balcony, I hit the water. It's like, what the hell? And I went to listen to the tape again, and she'd said all the stuff. So, yeah, some people. But again, if you read the Systema book, I talk about precognition, and I talk about how your DNA, your so-called dead DNA, can. It's like a little wormhole, so you could get information from the future or the past, whatever. Okay, where are we? Do you prefer the live streams or just normal vids? It's fun to do the live streams just because I'm talking to you guys, and at least I know I'm saying stuff that at least the people that are here maybe want to hear. So, Patriarch Jacob and Moses is what I meant. All right. First child on the way, getting really excited. Good. Keep breeding. Make sure they're good, hardcore Catholics. I don't want to have to be fighting your kids with my kids. Kurgan has Black Lives Matter kids in Mami, Africa. Nope, I don't. My wife and I can't have kids. We're deep into the adoption process. No excuses. Have children. Driftless Bear, that is an awesome thing that you're doing. That is honestly one of the coolest things that you can do for a human being. Back when I was somewhat black-pilled in life because, like I said, I was Zen agnostic. I thought, well, life sucks and then you die, and when you die, you just worm food. I thought of adopting because I thought, well, shit, there's no way I'm making kids in this crappy world. I don't want them to go through life. But, there's people that are already been born, they're orphans, they've got fucking horrible lives. Maybe I'll adopt some kids, but I've never been one for paperwork. And then I started making my own kids, so. But yeah, it's truly a good, cool thing. The bears have streamy stamina, they definitely do. Adopting a child is an act of deep mercy. There you go. Bully Ram is correct. Godspeed to you and your wife. Indeed. I will say a little prayer for you guys. Inner Flame, working on number 2 now. Wife and I both regret not starting sooner. If there was anything I would tell a young man or woman getting married is have kids now and have a bunch. Indeed. I would preface that with, and it's gonna sound like an old man telling you I know better, and it is, but it's also true. First, read up on Catholicism. Become a hardcore Catholic like me and others like me. Not like me, but become a hardcore Catholic. And see to it that you lead your wife to it too, if she's not there already. Again, by her own free will, not by force. You can't force somebody to be Catholic. But get married as Catholics. Why? Because there's no divorce. And you both make sure you know that very well before you start off. No divorce. Marriage is for life. Broke my nose playing basketball and it was completely sideways in the middle, shaped like a C. Doctor couldn't snap it back since it was broken, so I had to push on it back to center every day for weeks. Yeah, well, I kept going back to training, so there was no point in doing that. Family is everything. Much respect and love to you all building them. Yep. Baron von Blair, if you don't have a wife yet, get yourself out there, boy. And by the way, guys, I've had this question from Nicholas Bear, or whichever that young dude was. And I've written on this. I've done videos on how to get a good wife. The Puritans are going to disagree with me. The Catholics are going to disagree with me. Everybody's going to disagree with me. I don't give a shit. Deal with reality, right? I'm a realist. Again, warrior type. I'm not one of these people that's like, well, when the Muslim attacks you, turns the other cheek. No, shoot him in the face first and make sure you shoot his friend too. And it's the same thing. If you're gonna, find a woman in today's world, and it's bang them, find out their name, find out if they're good, find out if you can get them closer to Catholicism, get them to Catholicism, then get engaged, then get married. Completely the reversed, right? Satan has inverted everything that's good on this planet. If you're gonna win, invert his own shit back at him, right? So don't be too worried about, oh, but it's fornication. You've got to start somewhere to get somewhere, okay? And if your starting point is, well, I want to find a good hardcore Catholic woman that's gone there all by herself and is a virgin and has become a good Catholic girl from the start, and yeah, good luck, right? But I don't think that that's the way you're going to succeed the most, let's say, or the quicker. Yeah, that fear energy is indeed real. I would not trust anyone that's spirit guide. I wouldn't consider these spirits to be of God. Well, you can think what you like, but she wasn't a bad person, and there are absolutely spirit guides. Apparently every one of us has got like some kind of angel looking after him, and I have seen people that definitely are not evil people that have these things walking behind. Pretty much everybody has got one of these things walking behind them or with them. You've got guardian angels, dude. They're spirit beings, whether you like it or not. I don't think they're necessarily always good. I don't know. But I know that if you start to see auras, you will see that pretty much everybody has them. Okay. Oh, I agree, and I am a real Catholic with you. To me, that part was assumed. Oh, cool. Good. Excellent. Well, if you're under 50, you've got nothing to complain about, because I am, and I'm still making kids, so. Team BB and Vox, yeah, that's what I did. It's hard the first couple of times, but gets much easier quickly. Oh, we're talking about the fasting. Okay, guys, I've been going on an hour and a half, which I do still have some of that book to edit before I send off the final bits to the proper editor. So thank you all very much. It's always good that there's always a loyal 57. And good, thanks for giving me the thumbs up. I think it helps to spread the videos. And yeah, make sure you spread the videos just to whoever. As you know, I'm not monetized. I'm not planning to monetize. I'm doing this because I like doing it. But the next thing I would like to try and do is help people to actually create those little Catholic communities and Catholic city-states. And again, nothing to do with me. You know, it's like I want that stuff to happen. It's like the crypto fashion guys. I don't know if you guys know, but they were kicked off of their thing. And even Van Scriver actually donated $1,500 to them because he does a lot of work with them t-shirts. And they make the Kurgan t-shirts. They make the Kurgan t-shirts that says Catholic, not Novus Ordo. And it's got the little papal, the crown, the papal crown of Urban II. And I told them, I said, cool, it's great you're making the t-shirts. I don't want a penny. You know, they offered to give me the money for the sales of the shirts, percentage or whatever it is, which even my scriber said it's a good whack, it's a good percentage, and it is. I said, no, it's fine. I know you guys are, you know, just a small business and you're struggling or whatever. Plus one of the guys is, and they're friends of mine. You know, I know them from online, but they're good guys. It's a pair of brothers, and they're both hardworking, very hardworking people, and one of them was very ill. He literally nearly died. He's just sort of getting back into normal-ish sort of health now. So I said, no, it's fine, dude. Sell my t-shirts, and whoever buys them, you keep everything, you keep every penny. Just keep doing what you're doing. So if you guys don't have a Kurgan t-shirt yet, the Crypto Fashion site is down right now, but it will be back up soon. And when it is up, I'm pretty sure that Vox is going to put it on his blog. So just stay on Social Galactic, whatever. I'll let you guys know as well. But I'm sure that Vox will tell everybody when Crypto Fashion is back up. All right. Thank you, and good night all. Have a good evening. I am going to say bye-bye.